Hello. So I am going to be sharing some information that I want the world to know because much of the world, the lazy part of the world, who only takes in what the media feeds them, which is garbage, has no idea what's actually going on in Israel. And I hope that the amount of people who's watching or what's going on over there has at least a little bit of the desire to do a little bit of research instead of just taking in what the media is feeding them. But I want people to know, and I'm asking people to share what I am about to share in this video of what is actually going on in the Middle East right now. So here we go. One is that the media of our country and other countries has taken this war and have sending propaganda in favor of the terrorists. I believe that any media of the United States and any country who has biasly reported what is happening during this war, omitting things so that they can manipulate favor for empathy and compassion against Israel, should be treated as war criminals. Because to manipulate truth like that in favor of these who's causing such terror is international terrorism. The media can be used for terrorism. And I truly believe that mainstream media of our country is guilty. So it has not been reported that Hezbollah is already in this war. Quite the contrary. I have read article after article after article after article of them saying, well, we're concerned that Hezbollah might become involved in the conflict. Excuse me. They've been involved in this conflict. They've been attacking Israel. And just today they bragged and took credit for an Israeli tank that they hunted down, captured, destroyed, killing all of the crew members. They bragged about it. There have been multiple incidents of Hezbollah being involved in the conflict. That's been reported. Then you have this continued lies from the mainstream media saying, well, we're concerned. Then you have this hospital attack, which there is evidence that it was not Israel that bombed that hospital. It was Palestinian militants. From several sources, this evidence has come from. But you do not see the media sharing that evidence. There's a little bit out there, okay? And it is important for people to get the truth, not get caught up in fake news, which is most of the mainstream media of what they're presenting, and the very biased and covering up and omitting things, being very misleading. Okay, you have people of Palestine, Palestinians, that are victims of these bombings of this hospital, this refugee camp, who believe, some of them, a lot of them, believe that it was Israel who did it. And it may very well be that they attacked their own people for the reason to cause the uproar around the world to be angry at Israel. When in fact it was the Palestinian, hello Alfonso, it was the Palestinian militants. There's evidence that they are the ones who caused the bombing. Meanwhile, you have all this empathy and you have only the talk about civilians, and the war crimes are only talk, they're only putting pressure on Israel. Iran has been threatening, and other countries are threatening and claiming that Israel has to stop bombing. But the problem with that is that the media is not reporting to the world that, excuse me, Hamas continues to bomb Israel. You have people by the hundreds of thousands trying to get the heck out of Israel. Well, they're portraying Hamas as this, we give up, and the Palestinians, oh, us. Well, meanwhile, Israel are all under terrorism Maybe they're not as successful as bombing Israel as they have been successful in bombing Hamas buildings, but they're not presenting to the world that Israel continues to be bombed, and they're the ones that started it. So today, in case you didn't know, in the Capitol, thousands went and bombarded and stormed our capital of the United States of America, and there were only 100 arrests. Maybe that's all they were able to arrest, but I count that as terrorism. When they start aggressively storming our capital. Look what they did to the people who stormed it for over the election, right? They had a valid reason to protest because they thought their election was stolen. That's a valid reason to protest if you believe that. Storming the Capitol, that's a different thing. So it's not that they were out there protesting. They weren't just out there protesting. They were doing aggressive things and blocking, and they would not comply. And so those people who bombarded and stormed the Capitol got 16 years and 18 years, and one of them, some of them got killed, right? And they arrested 100 people, probably just let them go. I don't know what they're going to do charge wise on them, but we have terrorists in our land right now, and all these people out there supporting what Hamas has done, they need to be arrested as terrorists. Period. And I'm angry. And I want the rest of the United States of America to be angry. I don't care what your position is on the war. That's one thing. But when people are out there supporting what Hamas did on the streets, supporting what Hamas did, applauding and celebrating, I'm not saying all of them that are out there are doing that, but there are some that are. And they need to be arrested as terrorists. Okay? Because what Hamas did has already been declared by our nation and by nations around the world as terrorism. As terrorism. Okay. And so you have 100 people arrested for storming our capital today. And I don't even think that barely made the news. I'm sorry. It was just nothing but the news around the world when, Republicans stormed the Capitol over what they believe to be a stolen election. Okay. And so then you have people all over the streets in various cities. And I don't care if these people, another thing, these people who claim to be Jews are out there angry about they're calling it genocide of Gaza. And I'm angry because I blame the media for their misinfo. So they need to start arresting people who are spreading propaganda and blaming Israel for bombing that hospital. And it was not Israel. The Pentagon sent Biden over. They have evidence, and it's not just their intelligence sources. There are resources over there in the Middle East who know who bombed the hospital. Okay. And so here's another thing that I want to share about the difference between Palestinians who are claiming, oh my gosh, we did not have anything to do with this specific attack. We weren't participating in that attack. Okay, well, they didn't participate in it. But if they're not ready to denounce Hamas and demand that Hamas be removed and ask for assistance from other countries to get Hamas out of there, then they support Hamas. Period. I don't care if they were out there with Hamas doing the acts that they're doing. They paraded those hostages all throughout Palestine, and nobody has gave up information where those hostages were. Okay, so I just and I'm not trying to be unempathetic or unsympathetic. I am a combat veteran. I served at Desert Storm, and I know when I was over there because of where there was Muslim countries against Muslim countries, and what one leader went over there and genocided Kuwaiti people, bullied and went after a smaller country and did horrible things that I cannot even mention. Okay, here on YouTube. Okay, so we go over there and assist them, right? And he was forcing people to fight. That's pretty bad when you have to force people to fight and do horrible things to the people if they refuse, which I won't even mention on here. Okay, but when we go over there and I'm in the hospital from being injured, and they're bringing in by the busload victims of IED attacks, and then you have prisoners who defected, a lot of them surrendered, and those people that surrendered, that were taken prisoner by our units, they didn't have no smack talk. They weren't celebrating what their leader did. They weren't glad for what their leader did. They did not in any way support what their leader did. They did not participate in what their leader did, and they wanted no part of it. And they gladly defected and surrendered. Okay. And that was their attitude of these people who had done, who was of the country, had done these horrible things to these Kuwaiti people. And I had compassion for them. I felt sorry for them. They didn't have any part to do with that. Okay. But you have these people in Palestine while they're claiming to be victims, the civilian casualties. Do you know? And this is important for the world to know. The evacuation is a choice by these Palestinians. And guess who's telling them not to evacuate? Hamas is telling them, don't you evacuate. And it may be that they're threatening them. They may be being threatened by Hamas not to evacuate. But Hamas is not that big to control millions of people over there. Okay, and some of them had tried. But then you have Egypt, who doesn't want them to evacuate into their land, which technically was originally Israel, by the way. So this land, this border that they could cross into over Egypt, they could set up camps there and let these people get out there so they can go in there and destroy Hamas. But no. And there's a couple reasons why they're not wanting them to do that. And here's what people in the world need to understand. I am so sick and tired of the mainstream media and the people who are out there blaming Israel for the bombings that's going on when Egypt's not even being touched. Nobody's even talking about what Egypt is doing. Egypt is not allowing them to evacuate. And you know why? Because they don't want them in their land. And not only that, there's a part of concern that Israel will not allow them to return. So they're going to be stuck with these millions of people, which I do believe Israel should put in writing that, look, you people get out, Egypt, let them go over here, and we will put in writing that once we get Hamas out of there, we will let them return. They should put that immediately in writing and be held accountable to the world to that. Okay? So that they can safely evacuate. Because Egypt is not letting nobody in. Egypt was like, y'all get bombed over there. You ain't coming over here, but we're gonna put the finger at Israel over here. They to blame. You know, when Ukraine started getting bombed, and these people that aren't have the ability, they didn't have enough guns for everybody. They had to get the heck out of there. They evacuated Ukraine's by the millions, people. They evacuated Ukraine by the millions, and the countries around them made a path for them to get out of there. But that's not what Egypt's doing. Egypt's like, you ain't coming up in here. They probably ain't gonna let you back in, and we'll be stuck with you. Nah, stay over there. Egypt needs to be blamed for all of those people stuck in Palestine while this war is going on, just as much as Israel. And I do believe that Israel should try to create a refugee camp. And if they don't have the manpower or the ability, ask for assistance. We've already got U.S. troops over there. I don't care what the mainstream media says. We have troops over there already. I've already showed videos of that. They keeping that on the down low for their logistical reasons that they are, but they're over there. And they can ask for more assistance to help set up temporary camps for these people to evacuate into. And, they can do their separation process, but they get the women, the children, the elderly, the disabled, or whatever, get them out of there. But Egypt needs to be blamed. They need to be blamed. And we, the people, need to demand accountability for our mainstream media. Mainstream media, all they care about is click, 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 and click, 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 and click, click, click. They just want the clicks so they can make that money in their monetized channels and not presenting the truth to the world. And there is such intense danger right now of a third world war. You have people making threats like we're on the edge, Iran and Russia and all these big countries with capabilities, and then hiding the fact, and not only hiding the fact but lying about Hezbollah being involved. I'm going to put, after this video is over, it's going to be here shortly, I'm going to put in the description, if you're seeing this after it's no longer live, look in the description, I'll have links. Just today, they bragged about hunting down an Israeli tank and killing them. And if you go and you look and you research and stop being fed what, some convenient mainstream media article is when you click on one of your devices, oh, well, let me look at this. They're feeding garbage, a lot of things missing, okay? They have been continuing to attack Israel. It is not, I repeat, it is not just Palestine being attacked. It is a war where both sides are continuing to fight. So Israelites are also at risk, and people from all around the world. You have people with dozens of thousands and hundreds of thousands we have 250,000 people, Americans, are in Israel that are having to leave because it is at war and it is continuing to be attacked from Hamas. So I'm so tired of hearing about only one side, civilians, that maybe they have had more success in bombing their stuff than they have over here. But I'll tell you what, right now, their ability to evacuate is a choice. One, they must choose to evacuate as they have been instructed and they have been given warnings. They flew over these leaflets and told them, hey, you need to go here. And that hospital attack was an egregious bombing by Palestinian militants. And I think there's no way for people not to know that over there. Okay, I know when it's all in chaos and whatever, maybe a lot of them don't know that. But these people over here in America and around the world storming our capital with a bunch of nonsense lies, talking about how there's genocide of these people, and they're just like, excuse me, who started this? Who beheaded babies? Who tortured them? Who did this? And who continues to fire into Israel trying to kill more people? Who's doing that? Yeah, that would be the Palestinians. Them people over there, there's millions of those people. How are they not able to take out Hamas? Because they know where they are. All of those Palestinians who know where they are and ain't trying to take them out are part of the problem. And if they continue to say, well, they had a right or whatever, you know what? They have been given the orders to evacuate. And it is quite possible that these Palestinian militants who bombed that hospital, the evidence shows, may very well have done it for strategic purposes to cause upset around the world. Bombing their own people is what they did. Now, it may have been an accident. They're saying that they believed it was a misfiring of the rockets. And I'm going to tell you what, right now, if you don't have proper training in that equipment, I served in one of the most powerful military forces in the world, and there is such thing as friendly fire, and accidents do happen. Unfortunately, they do. And these people over there in this chaotic situation who are most likely undertrained, that hospital and those hundreds of people who died in that refugee camp in the hospital, Palestinians did it. That's from evidence. And when it goes before the international court, all these people, all these media sources, and all these people that stormed that Capitol with the propaganda that Israel did that to try to attack Israel and get the world against Israel, they need to be treated as terrorists. Now, maybe they didn't intend it. Maybe they believe the lies, but I'm sorry. They're just got their whatever heart set, and I'm just like, I'm disappointed and I'm disgusted with the allowing of these people marching through the streets claiming that only marching for Palestinians. Jewish people. I'm collecting pictures. I'm collecting videos so that every face who claims they're Jewish out there in these streets speaking against the Israeli government with propaganda against the Israeli government, I'm going to send it to the Israeli Defense Force so they can have their faces, and I hope they put it in a database when they try to go to Israel, and that they're rejected from ever entering that country again, or they're held accountable for international criminal law for crimes that they're doing right now over here in America, spreading propaganda against Israel. Oh, yeah, I'm doing that. I don't care if that makes people mad, because I'm collecting faces. I'm collecting crowds of people and faces so I can send it over there to them, because they're just spreading propaganda. You have 250,000 Americans stuck over there. It's going to take them a while to get those people out of there that's trying to leave by the thousands. They're stuck. They're trapped at any given time. You don't know what kind of weapons they have, because Iran is suspected to have been supporting them, and they're continuing to attack. They're continuing to send rockets, and you don't know if submarines aren't sending them new supplies of stuff, how they got that much stuff that they continue to send. Meanwhile, they're like, oh, if you just stop bombing us and we will give you your hostages. Why don't they just release the hostages already? But I do believe that Israel should be trying to take them up on that offer to stop bombing them for a temporary period of time, give them a set amount of hours to get them hostages across that border, and then end it, for now. But really and truly, they're just really sympathetically playing up to the world about Palestinian victims who are not holding up signs. They're not trying to stop Hamas in their own land. They let Hamas take over. They took over. Maybe they don't have control. Maybe they don't have ability, to kick them out. But they watched. They watched while they took those victims, those hostages. They paraded them through the cities, and they know where they are. And I'm just sorry, but I do believe there's a lot of guilty Palestinians, and the fact that they're not trying to evacuate. And I understand the concern, of Egypt. They're like, well, if we let a million or so people on over here in our land, we're going to be stuck with them, And well, Egypt is a part of the problem for not letting them evacuate. And those who chose not to evacuate, it's on them. And this lies, please don't let anybody lie. If you hear anybody saying, hey, Israel bombed that hospital, correct them. Please stand up and correct them and say that is not true. There's no evidence that Israel did that. You don't have any rocket. See, they could grab the rocket if it was true. They could grab the rocket because Israel's rockets are marked. They could grab this rocket and say, this is the rocket, or some kind of remaining, material, but they have the evidence. The Pentagon and several sources has the evidence of who fired those rockets into that hospital and that refugee camp, and it was Palestinian militants. Now, whether or not they did it on purpose or it was an accident is still left to be proven. Okay, but the way they're acting, the way they're trying to spread it across the world that it wasn't them, it seems it was more deliberate. Unless they're just afraid, to admit that they did that, because maybe, but they definitely military militants of Palestine kill those people. And we have terrorists by the thousands in our land who's going around spreading propaganda. And I hope the Jewish people who dare doesn't speak up for the Jewish people and all the people stuck in Israel still being facing rockets being fired from Palestine and blaming Israel on lies that they bombed that hospital. I think they should be treated as terrorists. And I hope Israeli government holds them accountable. And if they don't have a Jewish citizenship, I hope they're blocked from ever getting one, because they should be ashamed. We should have compassion towards those people that are civilians caught up in this war, but to spread propaganda deliberately, willfully, just choosing to blame Israel for something that they didn't do. They went and spent all this effort to spread all these flyers and pamphlets from the sky, drop down into society, and then I do blame the media for all the misinfo that's out there, and I do think that people, when is enough? When is it enough to stand up against the media, the mainstream media, who has the audacity to try to go around and talk about fake news, when in reality the stuff that they have withheld and the stuff that they have been misleading in a time of war, claiming Hezbollah is not already in a conflict, they need to be held accountable. And we, the people, need to be the ones making them accountable. We need to stand up. When you see the evidence come out about how Hezbollah's, you can go look it up now. Hezbollah has already been in the conflict. I'm going to make a list of lies that the media has been misleading people. One, they didn't share, not enough people. Some did. Not enough people shared that there's evidence from several sources that it was Palestinian militants that blasted the hospital. Two, they're not sharing that many, the Israel's still under attack, right? And to include 250,000 Americans that's in that land, that these people in America is not, they just want to talk about, what's happening in Palestine, and no regard to our own citizens. These freaking terrorists running around marching, in our land need to be treated like terrorists. And then, they're not representing the fact that they're continuing to attack Israel. Okay, um, what they did, to that hospital, bombing that hospital like that, and then Hamas telling people not to evacuate, and people refusing to evacuate. Anyways, please spread the truth and reject the lies of the mainstream media, and do so aggressively. That's what I appreciate if you would do.